All right, so I have my storyboard, and on my stage, I already have the background sheet. And there's a few different ways I can go about this. But what I'm going to do for this animation example, and you can look back at the YouTube channel for past animation examples for other techniques, but I'm going to keep this as a background plate, which means that in future stage frames, I'm just going to leave this layer turned on, and I'll put new things on top of it. So let me just demonstrate that very quickly. So in my assets file, I have my guy, and my first action is my guy gets introduced from the left. So let me grab him. And because he's a vector that I brought in, I'm going to rasterize him on a copy layer. But I'm going to keep that vector safe in case I ever need to really zoom in on him or do something else. He'll be really clean. And now I want to take him, and I'm just going to, let's see, I want him, and I want the grass in front of him, and I want his shadow all to work. And those are the things I'm concerned about. So I'm going to turn off all these other asset layers for now. Okay. So now you see between my assets and my stage, the only difference is him and the shadows he casts, right? And now I'm going to position him differently. So to do that, I'm actually going to make a duplicate of all these layers I'm using. I'm going to make a duplicate of his shadow map, turn off the other one. I'm going to make a duplicate of him, turn off the other one, Command J to duplicate. And I don't need to duplicate the grass because the grass itself is not going to be moving. Okay, so the elements that I'm going to be moving and playing with, instead of just moving them, I'm in the Assets folder. I am going to make duplicates, and I'm going to select multiple layers here because I want his shadows and him. So I hold down Command and I select both. And then I use my Move tool, and I move him off of the frame. And you see how he's going to go behind the grass. And that's basically what I want to animate. He's coming in. Woohoo! Just like that. So first, he peeks in. So what do? First, I want to play with this grass a little bit. I'm just going to erase it out a tiny bit. So that as he moves behind it, it will look a little more believable. I was only at 11% opacity, that's why. And I will use my stylus and be able to make this a little bit more grass-like. Now remember, GIF animations are low res, so I don't need to be as worried about detail. Whoops, more worried about story than detail. So you hold down Command, you select the layers you want to use. He's going to come in like this. You see how his shadow moves with him. That's very helpful. Okay, so I'm going to start there. Now what I'm going to do is turn off the backgrounds. And now with these three layers selected, I'm going to click on Stage and move it out into a separate Photoshop folder so that then with all these selected, the rocks, or the grass rather, the character and his shadow map, I'm going to drag and drop all those over onto my stage. And they'll still all be selected, and I'll move them down, and that shows me where to place them. Okay. Then I'm going to merge them all. Merge them all in the stage. Have them all selected, and the merge shortcut is Command E. Or you can go up to Layer and say Merge Layers. It will only merge the ones that are selected. Okay, so this is my worry about merging them, is that the shadow map will go opaque. So before I merge them, I want to merge these two. And then I want to set this as overlay, and I'm going to link this. Let me see. So I want the shadow to affect him. Otherwise he looks too dark, because I have dodge and burn all in that shadow mask. So I can do it as a link, but it might actually be easier to just do it as a group. So make a new layer. This will be my first panel, and I move them both into that group. Now if I'm not moving the shadow with him, I can just move it into one panel asset, but I want that shadow with him. Okay, then I can save the stage, and I can go back to my assets. And now I can take that, I select them all, I unselect the green grass, and I'm going to move him a little bit more on the background. So there's a lot of layer management here. So I want him to go to here. Just move him a little bit. Now actually I'll show you a shortcut. Let's say I know I want him to end up right here. This isn't going to look great, but let's just GIF animations often are pretty fast. So let's say I want that. Now I'm going to take those two, or all three of these, drag and drop them onto my stage. I'm using that rock to help place everything. And it should kind of snap into place. And now I make a new group of this. And basically this is the animation I have so far. The rock is a pain because I need to make sure it always lines up. Make sure I have snap on. Yeah, I want snap on, and then it will match up with the rock underneath a little bit easier. And once I get in place, I won't need to worry about the shadow or the rock anymore. There we go. And then it'll be much more straightforward. Okay, so the animation I have so far is just 3 frames. Just like that. But, and that's really just to show the introduction of the character. Now, how does this actually work in animation? I'll just do a quick test here. I'll save it. We go to Window, we go to Timeline, and I'm on the Essentials view. And we're going to create a frame-by-frame animation. Make sure you can see all this. Okay. I'm going to make frames from layers. And it will give me these different components. And because I made mine a little complicated, I have to do it this way. Basically, all the timeline is, in frame-by-frame animation, is programming the eyeballs with the layers. So on this first frame, I want just this background layer to show up. On this second frame, I want group 1 to show up on top of the background, and all of the components in group 1. So that's the grass, that's the shadow, and of course the character. And then because group 1 and 2, notice how the grass kind of changes? I'm going to make sure that in frame 1, I also turn on, oh, I shouldn't have sampled it here. I need to turn on the grass as well in that one so that they match. So you can program that eyeball any way you want, but I'm going to have a shadow come in, and then I'm going to have him come in. Not quite there yet. Right there. Then I'm going to turn on group 2 and turn off group 1. And then I can move these others yes, that's the one I want, to the trash can within the frame. If I hit delete when I'm on a frame, that will actually erase all the layers that are in that frame. So never hit delete, just move it to the trash. Okay, so now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 frames getting me to here. But here's the trick. And I don't know if I need this extra shadow frame, so let me get rid of that. So just like that. Now, if I don't care how he moves, if I don't want him to bounce or do something really interesting, I just want a straight motion tween, I can select these 2 frames, and I can have the computer add in-betweens. And it's going to change the position, the opacity, and the effects. I'm going to add 3 frames in between. And so now, it's like he moves. But I don't want the opacity to change like that. I don't want him to be like transported. So let me see if I can just get a movement tween on it. So I'm just going to change position. So I select both layers, holding down Command, in-betweens, just change position, just on the selected layers. I guess on all layers. Nope. Oh, I remember how to do it. All right. This isn't something I do because it's kind of sloppy. But this is how I can do a shortcut of it. So if I wanted to, I could create a new frame here. And in that new frame, I'm going to move those layers. Let's see, where is he? This guy. And I'm going to move him from here to here. And then if I do in-betweens with position, that should pick it up. That's why I like to introduce animation first with just frame by frame. Let's keep it simple. So in this frame, I'll move him right there. All right, now to test it, I simply say I want it to loop through forever, and I set a timing, and I select all frames and select the timing underneath, and the default timing I usually use is 0.2 seconds, just because it's a default, and it will go pretty fast. And you'll see if something doesn't quite work. And then you can add more frames if you like. So using him, I'm going to add an in-between there. I need to move him back more. And I can make him kind of hop up and down. So you can use in-betweens to make things like kind of magically appear or disappear.